Good day and welcome back. And today we are going to talk about how tight should I tighten my cinch. Now, I'm not going to give you an answer because, like so many things in good horsemanship, there really is no one right answer. And there's a lot of variables depending on you, your horse, and your situation and your saddle and everything that will determine exactly how tight you need to be tightening. But I will give you a few guidelines and tell you a few reasons why you should do or not do certain things. One thing that you will find, one thing that is absolutely a guaranteed definite thing you can do is you can over tighten them, particularly with some of the modern cinches. This one has a roller in there. It only has one. Some actually have a second one there, so that as your latigo comes around a second time, it goes through over the second roller. If you've got some fairly good upper body strength, you can very, very easily over tighten those. And that can be very uncomfortable for the horse, make it hard for them to breathe, might even cause behavioral problems. Who knows? A lot of things. Not a good idea. You do not want to over tighten your cinch. Now, a little guideline for how tight should it be. What I go by is I like to be able to easily slide my fingers in behind it. If I have trouble getting my fingers in behind it, that's too tight, I think. I want it just tight enough that the saddle is not too likely to shift, especially when I'm getting on, because I frequently get on from the ground. And so when I put my weight in that stirrup, I don't want the saddle turning. Now, I did another video, I talked about mounting techniques and stuff, and I said, if the saddle's too loose and it turns when you're trying to get on, it's going to put pressure on the side of the withers. It's going to be very uncomfortable for the horse. So you really don't want to be doing that. However, really good mounting techniques, you could actually, somebody else did a video one time and I watched it, it was kind of neat. You could actually get onto your horse if you're quite athletic without even having the cinch done up at all. So, and I have seen a lot of people like their cinch quite loose. They aren't dependent on it for anything more than just, so the saddle doesn't fall off if the horse moves while you're not on it. And depending on how good your balance and seat is, there's a lot of variables. You don't necessarily have to have it extremely tight, and depends on the shape of your horse and the saddle, how well it fits on there, how tight you need to have it. Too loose can be a bad thing. The saddle can shift if you don't have particularly good balance. When you're getting on again, like I said, the saddle can turn, pull on the withers, and cause discomfort to the horse. So there's a lot of variables involved. Now, for example, a little girl over there, she's got a fairly flat back, low withers. I had to tighten it fairly tight for her just to keep it in one place. This one here, she's got a little bit more withers, not so much of an issue. That one there, she's got much narrower shoulders too, as well as fairly decent withers, which is surprising for a quarter horse. She's not a very typical shape for one. For her, I don't have to have it very tight. So I wouldn't tighten it any tighter than I have to. So this is what I want to talk about, is how tight you need to have it. Well, like I said, there's a lot of variables and there's no one right answer. I'm just going to talk about it, let you think about it, and you come up with the answer for what's going to work best for you. And on the subject of cinch tightness, something you got to be careful with is, you'll notice I'm using a nylon latigo on mine. Some people like them, some people don't. Some people think they slip and come loose. I've never had that happen. I rather prefer these ones for my own reasons. But the leather ones are nice. Some people like them because they're a little different material. They're a little more elastic. They're a little stretchier. That has a downside to it, although it does make it a little bit more comfortable for the horse perhaps, and easier for him to breathe. They do tend to stretch, and you have to retighten them several times while you're riding them. To make sure that they stay tight. Leather by nature will be a little bit stretchy, as well as when the horse sweats and it gets moist, it expands. You got to be very careful. I have personal experience. I was using somebody else's saddle one time and it had a leather latigo on it, and I hadn't been riding that horse 15 minutes, got off to check its fence, went to go get back on, put my foot in the stirrup and the saddle turned. I had to retighten it. So be careful if you're using one of those. I have nothing against them, just personal choice. I'm going to use a nylon one. I like that. Another thing is, sometimes it just takes a few minutes for the cinch to get settled in, the saddle to get settled down, and everything else. This one here, she's quite good. She knows. I have a little routine I always do after I put the saddle on, tighten it up. I never get on the horse. I always walk her around a little bit, give her a minute or two for everything to settle into place, and then before I get on, I recheck it. I snug it up just a little bit more. And there usually is a significant difference. As you can see, there's not much of a tail here right now. If I was to actually walk around, I haven't moved her since I put the saddle on. I just did this for the video. If I was to actually walk around for a couple minutes, everything would shift around and settle into place, and that tail would be an awful lot longer. And it is every time. But that's my routine. Is I don't just hop on the saddle after putting it on. I walk the horse around a little bit and snug it up. And she knows the routine too. If I was to actually try and stick my foot in that stirrup right now, she'd probably walk off on me, do a lap of the arena, come back and stop in front of me again, because she just knows that's the routine that we have. We always do that. And she actually, the first time she did that to me, I was actually a little surprised because I didn't realize what she was doing, but she knew my routine better than I did, apparently, because I actually forgot, and I was going to get on without retightening it. And she knew better. She walked off on me, and I'm like, well, where are you going? And then I realized, she's going for a little walk around the arena. And, well, actually, it wasn't an arena. It was an outdoor pen. But she went for a little walk around, did one lap, came back, stopped right in front of me, waited for me to retighten the cinch and then get on. But anyhow, so how tight should you have it? Like I said, lots of variables. All depends on the shape of the horse, the fit of the saddle, your balance, your seat, everything else. Like I said, you definitely, the one thing you can do is you can definitely over tighten it. This horse in particular, she'll actually let me know if I over tighten it. If I actually pull that one up too hard, she'll turn her head around, put her nose on it and say, what do you think you're doing, dummy? But rule of thumb, you should be able to easily slip your fingers in behind it like that. If you can't, it's too tight, definitely. As for how loose, I'm not going to say how loose because that varies a lot, individual choices. I've had saddles shift. I don't like them too loose. I don't have particularly good balance like some people do. So I actually need a saddle that's fairly well secured for my own benefit. So like I said, that's one more of those variables that come into play. So for you, how tight does that need to be? Well, you decide what works best for you. Just don't over tighten it because I'm sure that would make it very uncomfortable for the horse, hard to breathe. And I have said it jokingly that with, particularly with the nylon ones, you can pull a lot tighter to tighten them up. And ones with a double roller on them, man, if you got some good upper strength and a nylon latigo, you could darn near cut that horse in half with one of those things. It would be very, very easy to ridiculously over tighten those things. So be careful. Conventional cinches, you got to give a little more of a pull on, but either way, check it after you do it up and, see how easy it is to slide your hand in behind there. If you have trouble getting your fingers in there, it's too tight, okay? Back it off and start over again. So things to think about. I'm not going to say how tight to make it. That's up to you. You come up with the ads for that one because it's going to vary for every situation. So just like with so many things with horses, there is no one right answer. But for your situation and you and your horse and your saddle, you'll come up with the right one. Have a good day.